Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming at you again for a new Film Fanatic show. It is 11:20 on a overcasty gray Sunday morning. It's 11:20, December 14th. So hope everyone's doing good. I had a pretty fun weekend. I went to go see some music, so it was great. Got to see some pretty cool bands. I guess we're getting some snow here. We're getting closer and closer to Christmas. Christmas is coming right up. And then also, with that, I will be doing a big Christmas show, which I do every year. I always do seasonal shows, obviously, with Halloween being the biggest. And then I always do a Halloween show. I've had this channel for about 3 years. Well, I've actually had it for longer than that, but it wasn't until about 3 years ago that I started, using it pretty regularly. And so I always do a Halloween show, Halloween special, and then I always do a Thanksgiving special, and I always do a big Christmas show because there's so many movies tied to Christmas. Thanksgiving is harder to find. Halloween, it's a no-brainer. There's like a billion movies that you could cover uh, pertaining to that holiday, and then Christmas, it's pretty massive as well. I don't usually get into the Christmas spirit until kind of late, the week of, and I'm starting to feel it, I guess, now. And usually what I end up doing for my movie habits is like around Christmas time, like the week leading up to Christmas, I will totally overdose on Christmas movies. That's all I'll watch for about. That's usually what I do. I usually will just watch Christmas movies for that whole week or two every night, and just totally overdose on the Christmas spirit. And then it's funny because usually because I go so hard and heavy and I get so into it, right after Christmas I'm totally done with it, and I'm like putting the tree away, I'm putting the lights away, I'm like I'm sick of it. But I love it when it catches on like a fire, and it hasn't quite hit yet, but it will happen soon, I'm sure. So anyway, been I rented a couple of new movies this past weekend. Actually, for this weekend, I rent to Opera's Videos, Opera's Video in Belfast, and I got some movies. I'm going over to my folks tonight for dinner, and so I always get a movie or two. So I got some new movies. So there'll be a couple of new reviews for some new films or newer films. Lately, been back into doing a lot of exploitation movies, and they'll still be coming your way. Mostly older films, especially from the '70s and '80s, of course. But today's show is on a pretty different film. It's on an animated movie that I heard about just probably a few weeks ago, and it's called Flow, and it came out in 2024. It's an animated film. It was directed by Jinx Zibolodis. Never heard of this guy. The way I heard about this film, it's an animated film, and the way I heard about it, there's a YouTube guy, a couple of YouTubers out there that I've been watching, kind of new discoveries, and two of the guys I've been watching really take a deep dive in Criterion, all things Criterion, all movies that the Criterion company puts out. Criterion is an amazing label. They put out all kinds of great films, Blu-rays, 4Ks. They always put like a lot of love and care into their work. They typically do a lot of. I mean, if you're into a lot of foreign films, it's kind of amazing what they have. But they've also, really broadened their, uh, the amount of different genres now that they have gotten more. I think more into the horror genre and all kinds of stuff. I got a really amazing Night of the Living Dead, the Criterion Collection, They have all kinds of. They have all of the David Lynch films, all kinds of stuff. They've definitely broadened their, what they have, and the kind of work that they do as far as the coverage, and these incredible remastered versions of a lot of film classics. But typically they cover, they've been around for a very long time, and typically they, will work on putting together a lot of foreign films. Ingmar Bergman, they've done all kinds of work for with all of his incredible films. Akira Kurosawa, the list is endless, but a lot of incredible films by iconic directors, and also very important films. I don't have a ton of Criterion. I do have some though. Fellini films too is another how I kind of got into discovering their catalog. And they have all the Fellini films on Blu-ray and 4K. So this one channel I just discovered, this guy really covers he takes a deep dive in the Criterion collection. And one of these movies that he talked about, that he said was just a masterpiece, and he said it was the best film that he saw of 2024, and that is Flow. And it's an animated movie, and I love animated films. I mean, I a lot of Japanese animated films, like, really got into in college. I've always loved that style of movie making. I've always been into anime. This is an anime. I mean, it's an animated film, but it's a very, very unique style, very different. But I've always been into those kinds of films. I sometimes have a reluctancy to really check out a lot of new animated films. I do like a lot of new stuff, but I typically like, well, at least when it comes to anime, pure anime, like Japanese animated features, I typically go back to the older stuff. I do feel that a lot of the newer films in that genre have kind of gotten, well, a little bit more, um, I don't know, family friendly. I feel like, because a lot of the old style of anime really deals with a lot of darker subjects, much more adult oriented. But I think a lot of the newer animated films that I've seen, they're very good and they're beautiful, a lot of them. But I feel like the themes and the kind of the tone of the films is a little bit more, I don't know, family friendly, if you will. But I try not to get too, I guess, judgmental about that, because I still want to check them out. And I know that's not all of the films that have come out. But this newer film, this came out in 2024. Again, it's not a Japanese anime film by any means, but it is an animated film. Very, very unique film. And I watched it last night, and it's essentially about these animals surviving on the planet, where you kind of get this feeling that it's more or less like the end of the world. There's been some kind of cataclysmic environmental disaster, and it's basically wiped out civilization, and now these animals are left to find their own way and to survive. And it's centered around this cat and a bird and all of these other various animals, and them trying to go on this journey and survive in this, kind of end of the world scenario, if you will. And it's interesting because the whole movie, it's an hour and 25 minutes, I think. It's not a very long movie. This movie also won Best Foreign Film, I believe, and Best Animated Film last last year in 2024. It won an Academy Award. It got really some real critical praise by the critics. It won all kinds of awards, and then it got all of this buzz, and then it went on to win the Academy Award, and really put this filmmaker on the map, big time, obviously. There's a really great interview and special features in this. I got it on DVD. It was actually, this was put out by Criterion. This is why I started talking about Criterion, the company Criterion, because this was put out by them. I rented the DVD version of of this film, and I would love to see it on Blu-ray. And again, there's a really cool interview. There's some really great special features. There's two discs in this collection. There's a really great interview with Chintz Zibalodis. And I guess I didn't know, again, I didn't know anything about him. I had heard a little bit about this film last year, and then when I watched this YouTube channel, this guy had raved about this movie, and then I was like, okay, I wrote it, I took a note, I took notes on it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna definitely try to see this. So, but there's a really great interview with him in this film, and he has done a few other films, a few other shorts that I would definitely be interested in checking out. This movie's pretty unusual. You know, it's kind of a, I don't know. On one hand, it's a silent movie. Really, there's like zero dialogue, which I thought was really interesting. Visually, it's kind of unbelievably stunning. I mean, there's so much of a sense of freshness to the way this film looks. I don't know if I've really seen an animated film look quite like this. There's so many various forms of techniques involved in this process, the way this film was created. So it has such a visual flair to it. It was it's very unconventional, which I like. Visually too, it's pretty stunning. I mean, it really is. There's a there's a lot of, I guess, like 3D. There's like the way the cameras are and the way you're brought into this world. There's like this 3D kind of perspective, and it's really incredibly immersive. It's one of the most immersive kind of animated films I've seen. I mean, because you feel like the way the camera sits and the technology that's used in this film, you feel like you're really in the passenger seat of because this movie is, it's all visually, it's a the storytelling's all done through visuals, so you really feel like you're in the cockpit or in the driver's seat, and so when you're getting all of these perspectives or at different angles, like you really feel like you're in that space. So it's really unique. It's really immersive. It would be something to see this on Blu-ray, and then I think like if to see something like this that is that visually, something like this that it's so stunning to see visually, like seeing it on an IMAX. You know, seeing it in IMAX, I would imagine would be just mind blowing. But nevertheless, seeing it on DVD was pretty unbelievable. It's and there are some moments in this film that are really emotional, and you do care about a lot of these animals. I'm a cat. When I rented this movie the other day, Dennis, the owner of Opera House Video, had said, basically, if you're a cat person, you're gonna really love this movie, or an animal person. And I'm a cat owner. I've had my cat Lucy for many years. We've been through all kinds of things, good, all kinds of life changes together. So I get that totally. But I have to say that you don't need to enjoy this film to be an animal lover. I mean, I will say that this movie has there's certain moments in this film that are, I found myself kind of riveted. I felt myself really caring, and kind of almost biting my nails because I cared about what was going to happen. the potential death of a few of these animal creature characters, um, their struggle to survive, and there is some of the music in this film is absolutely gorgeous, like really really gorgeous, and it has kind of this dreamy, almost surrealistic quality because you there's a lot of scenes of where there are all of these interesting and kind of slightly mysterious like statues and almost kind of like these monuments that you see while they are traveling on this boat. And there's a lot of metaphor. There's a lot of I think there's a lot of symbolism in this film, and it's very interesting and it gives you a very, I don't know, kind of meditative experience. And I think that's really due because of the visuals are so strong, but that there's no dialogue, and it's just you're kind of just functioning on a pure like emotional level, like how you're reacting, and it's a very unique film, and I did see that this movie got not only when I first really heard about this movie, but I this film got so much praise and acclaim, and I have to say it was a pretty powerful movie. I was really surprised. I didn't think a movie about these cute little animals, a movie about these cute little animals trying to survive in the wake of some kind of um, scenario where there is this ecological or just the end of the world comes to pass, and basically there are no more humans left, and what do these animals who now inhabit the planet, how do they survive? I didn't know if that would be something I would be so into for an hour and a half, but it has some emotional quality. There are some scenes in this film that are highly emotional and beautiful, and it does have this meditative quality. It has a little bit of, I love that you don't quite know exactly what some of these statues or monuments, what that means. I like that there's definitely metaphor in this film. I love the quietness of the film. It also has a lot of thrills. There is action, with these animals trying to survive and going through all of these, you know, on this kind of adventure. But I definitely, I've heard this film being a little bit kind of compared to one of the greatest animated films ever made, Spirited Away. Spirited Away came out quite a few years ago, and that was a massive hit, and that won all kinds of awards. And yeah, no, this movie is complete. It's a completely different style. The technology used in this film is kind of revolutionary, and it has such a unique film. It's a very different film than that, but it definitely has some highly emotional moments, and some of the music is absolutely incredible in this film. And it was a pretty I don't kind of a riveting experience for what it was. I was pretty moved, and I was surprised. I was very surprised by this film. Definitely recommend it. It is it's more of an experience, if you will. It's because I like the thing that I love about this film is it's definitely very unconventional in many ways because of the way it's shot, and that there isn't any kind of traditional um, narrative, if you will. It's pretty unconventional, and I like that. I like that there are certain things that aren't, I guess, necessarily explained around what you're seeing and what you're kind of experiencing. Even though it's about kind of these, it's essentially about these animals trying to survive, and that there's a bond, and they do have this, I guess, love for each other that develops where they care for each other. But there's a lot of other things in the movie that are a little bit more ambiguous, a little bit more, I guess, mysterious. There's again a lot of really interesting kind of symbolism. But the design of this film is pretty spectacular. It's really unique. It's a trip. It's a very unique film, and considering that there's like uh, zero dialogue. It's pretty heartfelt. It's pretty moving. So I definitely check. I would definitely recommend this movie out. I was definitely see this film. Kind of have to say all of the hype or claims that people, all of the accolades this movie has gotten. I kind of feel like it's kind of true. Like definitely check this movie out. I was surprised. It's a beautiful experience. So yeah, Flow, and came out in 2024, and I believe it won for best animated film last year. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.